They say there's a dua of the bachelors. When Musa alayhi salam, after traveling for so long and just being absolutely exhausted, he comes to a town and he sits, like after all of this, he just wants to sit down and have a rest under a tree. And this is the first trait of the believer, that they don't have to be told to do something. They should be able to just see something, and if they can see a situation that someone needs help, they will get up and help without being asked. So Musa alayhi salam, he sits down, and what does he see? He sees there's a well, and obviously all these men trying to dig out, trying to bring the water out of this well. And from a distance, there's two sisters. So they're obviously holding their empty bucket, waiting for all the men to finish, because they're not going to go and squeeze themselves in between the men. So obviously they had modesty. So he realized that they're not going to be going there anytime soon, and in case any water runs out. So he gets up, he grabs a bucket from them, and he goes and fills up the water in between the men, and then he goes, gives them back the bucket. And then he comes back under that tree and he sits down. And he says, Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir. In a nutshell, Ya Allah, wherever you give me now, I'm happy. Whatever you give me now, I'm content. Realize one thing, while he was making that dua, Allah's qadr was already working to fulfill that dua. So it's not like nothing's in plan and then as soon as you make the dua, Allah starts working to cause things. If Allah inspired you to make that dua, the process has already started before you made that dua. So what had happened when he gave those two sisters the two buckets of water? They went back to their father. So one of the daughters said, there was a man that came and filled the bucket for us and everything, and it was very kind of him. And look at the way that they said it. They said, خَيْرَ مَنْ اسْتَأْجَرْتَ الْقَوِيَّ الْأَمِينَ. And it will be good if you hire him, because the good people that you hire are the strong people and the honest or the trustworthy ones. So the father, he understood what the girl meant. So he said, call him for me. So they went very modestly, walking very modestly. And they went and they called Musa alayhi salam to go and meet their father. Because of that one act and that dua, and that's why anytime you do a good deed, make a dua after it. Because it might be that deed that's accepted and that dua that Allah accepts, and you'll see what happens in the story. The man, he says to Musa alayhi salam, he says, I want to gift you two things. One of them is a work contract, either 8 years or 10 years. So number one is a job, security, income, money. Would you like to work for 8 years or would you like to do 10 years? When the Prophet ﷺ was narrating this story to the Sahaba, they're obviously always curious. They said, which one did he choose? And the answer of the Prophet ﷺ was even more beautiful. He didn't say 10 years. He said the most complete one. And that's an indication. To follow the Anbiya is whatever we do, we always do it completely. We do it properly. We do it to the full capacity. And then he said, and I will marry you one of my daughters. He didn't say which one, because maybe by saying one, he might have offended the other, and so on. But he ended up getting a job, and he ended up getting married.